Before we begin, I want you to pause for a moment and think about the people closest to you. The ones you text every day. The ones who say they care. The ones who sit across from you at dinner, who listen to your fears, who celebrate your wins. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable. Do you truly know them? Or do you only know the version of them that works in your presence? The most dangerous people in your life rarely arrive with warning signs. They don't announce themselves with cruelty. They don't always raise their voice. In fact, many of them feel safe at first. They feel familiar, kind, helpful, sometimes even healing. And that is exactly why they are hard to recognize. Carl Jung spent much of his life studying what human beings hide, not just from others, but from themselves. He believed the greatest threat is not conscious evil, but unconscious darkness. Because when someone refuses to face their own shadow, that shadow does not disappear. It spills outward, and often it spills onto you. If conversations like this help you think a little deeper about the people around you and about yourself, you're welcome to stay. Subscribe if you'd like to keep exploring this together. There are certain psychological patterns, 6 in particular, that feel harmless on the surface, but quietly erode your confidence, your clarity, and sometimes even your identity. These are not bad people in the cartoon sense. They are unaware people. And unaware people can do the most damage because they genuinely believe they are right. The first is the one who lives as a permanent victim. You've met them. Maybe you've tried to save them. Every story they tell casts them as the wounded one. Every conflict somehow confirms that the world is unfair to them. At first, your heart opens. You feel compassion. You want to help. But over time, something shifts. You notice that no matter how much support you give, nothing changes. The circumstances may change, but the narrative stays the same. Someone else is always to blame. A boss, a partner, a friend. Fate itself. Jung observed that when a person fuses with their wounds, they begin to build identity around suffering. And if suffering becomes identity, healing becomes a threat. Because if they are no longer the victim, who are they? So instead of growth, they seek sympathy. Instead of responsibility, they seek rescue. Slowly, you find yourself carrying emotions that were never yours. You feel guilty for being stable. You feel responsible for fixing what you did not break, and without realizing it, you are no longer in a relationship. You are in a role, a caretaker, a savior, a lifeline. And they never asked to be healed. They asked to be needed. Then there is the charming mirror. This one is subtle. They seem to understand you instantly. They laugh at the right moments. They agree with your opinions. They validate your fears. Being around them feels effortless, almost magical. But as time passes, you begin to notice something strange. You know everything about how they see you, yet very little about who they actually are. Jung wrote about the persona, the mask we all wear to adapt socially. The persona itself is not evil. We all need it. But when someone becomes nothing but a mask, there is no real center underneath. The charming mirror studies you, reflects you, and earns your trust by appearing aligned. But reflection is not authenticity. It is performance. And when your approval is no longer useful to them, the mask shifts or disappears. You realize you were not building something real. You were admiring your own reflection in someone else's surface. The third type is harder to detect because they rarely confront you directly. This is the quiet underminer, the one who smiles when you share a dream, but follows it with a gentle warning. I just don't want you to get hurt. Are you sure that's realistic? It sounds caring. It feels responsible. But over time, your excitement shrinks in their presence. Your confidence dims. Jung understood that people often project their own unacknowledged fear onto others. If they never dared to chase something bold, your courage becomes uncomfortable for them. Instead of admitting their fear, they disguise it as concern for you. They don't attack your ambition. They dilute it. Slowly, you begin to internalize their limitations. You hesitate more. You doubt yourself sooner. And they remain comfortably superior in their caution. Then, there is the hidden competitor. This one calls you friend. They applaud your success, just slightly less enthusiastically than you hoped. When something good happens to you, they subtly redirect attention. They share their own similar story, but bigger, better, slightly more impressive. Jung spoke about the inferiority complex as a powerful unconscious driver. When someone feels small inside and refuses to face it, they compete where competition was never invited. Your growth becomes a threat to their stability. Instead of celebrating you, they measure themselves against you. And because they cannot admit this openly, the rivalry stays hidden. You feel it in the tension, in the forced compliments, in the strange relief they seem to feel when you stumble. They are not walking beside you. They are watching you. The fifth type is perhaps the most confusing, the one who presents themselves as wise, healed, evolved. They speak the language of growth. They quote philosophy. They talk about energy, alignment, awareness. Being around them feels grounding at first, but over time, you notice something unsettling. Whenever you express discomfort or challenge them, they calmly suggest that your reaction is the problem. That sounds like your projection. You're being triggered. You have more inner work to do. Jung warned that spirituality itself can become a mask, an inflated persona that hides an unintegrated shadow. When someone builds identity around being above ego, they often become secretly ruled by it. They don't dominate you loudly. They dominate you quietly, by positioning themselves as the enlightened one. You begin to question your own emotions. You feel spiritually inferior. You start shrinking in the presence of someone who claims to be expansive. And finally, there is the one who feels everything, the sensitive soul, the empath who seems deeply attuned to your emotions. They notice shifts in your tone. They sense tension in the room. At first, it feels beautiful to be understood so intuitively. But slowly, something changes. You begin adjusting yourself to avoid overwhelming them. You monitor your reactions. You suppress frustration because it affects their energy. Jung described projection as assigning our inner chaos to the outer world. Some highly sensitive people, when unaware of their own wounds, expect others to regulate the emotional climate for them. You start carrying their storms. You feel responsible for their breakdowns. And before long, your identity revolves around keeping them stable. That is not empathy. That is enmeshment. Now here is the deeper layer, the part most people avoid. Jung believed we attract what we have not integrated. If you repeatedly find yourself surrounded by manipulators, victims, competitors, or controllers, it is not punishment. It is reflection. Somewhere within you may be an unacknowledged need, to be needed, to be admired, to be seen as strong, to avoid conflict at any cost. When you repress your anger, you tolerate disrespect. When you repress your intuition, you ignore red flags. When you suppress your boundaries, you invite those who benefit from their absence. This is not about blaming yourself. It is about reclaiming awareness. Because the truth is, not everyone who wounds you is malicious. Many are simply unconscious. But unconscious people still leave damage behind. And it is your responsibility not to fix them, but to know yourself deeply enough that their patterns no longer hook into yours. There comes a moment in life when you stop asking, "Why do I attract these people?" and start asking, "Why did I allow this to continue?" That question is not harsh. It is empowering. It shifts you from victim to participant in your own growth. Jung believed that wholeness requires integrating the shadow, not eliminating it, not pretending to be pure light, but accepting that within you exists anger, instinct, self-protection, even the capacity to walk away without explanation. The more you integrate your own shadow, the less fascinated you become by other people's masks. You stop chasing approval. You stop rescuing those who refuse to swim. You stop explaining your boundaries to those who benefit from crossing them. And something quiet but powerful happens. You become harder to manipulate, not because you are cold, but because you are clear. You begin to trust that uneasy feeling in your chest, the one that whispers before your mind rationalizes. You learn that peace is not maintained by self-sacrifice, that compassion does not require self-erasure, that love does not demand submission. And slowly, you shift from being the person who absorbs other people's unconscious chaos to the person who observes it without stepping inside. Jung once said that enlightenment does not come from imagining figures of light, but from making the darkness conscious. The 6 dangerous patterns are not monsters in the world. They are unintegrated fragments of the human psyche. Some you will meet in others. Some you may recognize in yourself. And that recognition is not shame. It is growth. If this reflection stirred something in you, that is not coincidence. It means you are becoming aware. And awareness is the first boundary. It is the first protection. It is the first step toward becoming someone who does not need to fear hidden shadows, because you have faced your own. The goal is not to walk through life suspicious of everyone. It is to walk through life grounded in yourself. When you know who you are, when you honor what you feel, when you allow your instincts to speak without silencing them for the sake of harmony, you naturally filter out what is not aligned, not with anger, not with drama, just with quiet certainty. And perhaps that is the real message beneath all of this. The world does not become safer when people change. It becomes safer when you stop abandoning yourself, when you stop confusing intensity for intimacy, when you stop mistaking charm for character, when you stop apologizing for having limits. You cannot control who carries an unexamined shadow, but you can decide whether you will carry it for them. And that decision, made quietly within yourself, may be the most powerful act of self-respect you ever take.